Dun, 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 dun. We're back. Better than ever. We're back. That's a callback to an old Opie and Anthony thing.
Should do the intro music.
We always have intro music.
There we go.
I always have intro music. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Slip Into the Night, episode 31. The return. We've been Holly and I have been so out of sync.
Yep.
The past 2-3 weeks to try and get together to do anything. I've been doing a shit ton of projects. Finished a deck. Painting a deck. Whoa. The Indy 500 over there?
Well, I am on a kind of even though I have the front door shut, I'm on a road that motorcyclists like to frequent since that time of year. And as it gets closer, because I'm in New Hampshire, closer to Bike Week, which is in about 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
When it's Bike Week weekend, it's just like constant motorcycles because I'm on the route to the big Bike Week weekend location. So
nice.
It will just be like constant hordes of motorcyclists going past the house. Yeah, awesome. Good times.
And everybody's getting out right now.
Well, it's been the nicest weather it has been in months. And in New Hampshire anyway, a lot of the shelter in place restrictions are being lifted.
Yeah, so. I know I've noticed a lot of places are open. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot more places that restaurants that I've seen that are actually open.
Yeah.
I saw an Applebee's that actually had dining inside dining.
Yep.
So, I mean, and people are complaining. We sat out the other day, and this guy complained to me about his fucking mask and having to wear a mask for I don't know how long in line. And I just kept telling him, I'm like, dude, while I'm wearing a mask, I'm like, if it makes other people feel better and, it doesn't hurt me one bit, I don't see a fucking problem with it. And this guy just wouldn't stop. I'm just then don't wear your fucking mask. I don't give a fuck. Do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
It just gets crazy. But but things are opening up. Most people are just adhering to the stuff and just going with the flow. And I mean, like I said, eventually we'll get to the other side of it, and at least if they're opening stuff up and letting people out, that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Get out, do some stuff. Hey, there are some small businesses out there that are really hurting right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get out there. There's a store across the street from me. They're very, very seasonal. I popped over and gave them some business. I mean, why not? Help them out because there's nothing going on. And it's crazy. How different it is right now, and it is kind of cold, but still, there'd still be people crazy down here. So
Memorial Day weekend is usually the big first camping weekend in the New Hampshire White Mountains, but right now the White Mountains are closed to out-of-state visitors, as is generally New Hampshire is closed to out-of-state visitors, and like a lot of states, if you come here, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. So people who are coming up in the past years who would come and do weekend camping, they're not coming because it's not worth to come up for the weekend, because then you either have to quarantine here or quarantine, and you can't get a camping spot up here either unless you are a New Hampshire resident. So
and the one thing I noticed they did here in Maine, a lot of the campgrounds have basically they've reduced their rates, and they're saying, if you're a Maine resident, you get these reduced rates, come down, camp, and for the most part, I know down here at the beach, we've seen, there are some out-of-state license plates, but for the most part, it's Maine license plates. For the most part, people are doing it, and hey, it sucks. I'm not gonna sit here and try to try to act like this is fucking great. Hey, this is fucking yeehaw. It blows. You know, did I want to fucking sit outside of fucking Sam's Club for fucking 20 minutes today to get in? So I can get my fucking coffee? No. But I did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just think some people take it a little too far with some of the bullshit, but I mean, it's good to see that things are getting back to somewhat normal, to be honest. Because I mean, I don't know. I don't know about you, Holly, but my whole take on this thing it's all over the place. Like, what is it? Like, it goes from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum to over here to down there to way. Where the fuck are we?
Yeah, it is all over the place. That's funny because that's what we were talking about. Because part of the reason why we're doing this at 3:00 is because I was doing my I joined in on an astrology podcast, which is also kind of an irregular thing, but we are moving. One, we are in Gemini season, and two, something called the North Node, which is it's the point where the path of the ecliptic intersects with the sun's path or the moon's path. Anyway, it has to do with the points where the eclipses are. But it goes around the zodiac, and it stays in each sign at about 18, 19 months, and then it'll move on. Well, that North Node point has moved into Gemini, and it amplifies that Gemini energy. And there's Mercury in the sun and Venus in Gemini. So this is this very Gemini energy, which is this up, down, all around, all over the place, kind of like shotgun splatter. That if you need to have like things that are very planned and logical in sequence can be very hard to deal with, because that Gemini energy can be experienced as all over the place. Should be interesting. It should be noted that our president, Mr. Donald Trump, is a Gemini sun. He can sometimes exhibit that all over the place. Say anything, kind of Gemini energy.
Oh yeah. And you and I had talked about like the fact that so much of his stuff gets blown out of proportion nowadays, and it's so hard to even like watch the news about any of this. Like, I'm just whatever,
Well, yeah, and especially right now with Gemini. Gemini is the archetype of the trickster. So like Loki and Mercury, Hermes in the Greek and Roman mythology is also the trickster. So you get like these kind of little things that happen out there that are like tricksterish, or not quite what it seems to be. So there's that going on too. And it is amplifying that. Oh, we thought it was this thing one day, and now it's this other thing the other day. And sometimes it's intentional and sometimes it's not. And it's very like slippery, hard to pin down energy.
Well, I mean, this whole thing, the whole pandemic, like, I don't know that it was, at this point, I just don't know that it was even worth the shutdowns. Like, I just don't know. The numbers that everybody's seeing now, it just seems to show something different. Like, it seems pretty weird, but I mean, we're not out of it yet, so I don't want to sit and try to speculate. I don't want to be one of those people, but I just seem to find it weird that it's so all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to assess the data when you're in the middle of it, because you're in it. You're not looking outside of it more objectively. It's a subjective experience. But, well, for one thing I can say is that, the doctor that I work for has tested 20 people, and every person, and we thought this person has it, and they all tested negative.
Yeah.
So, but why is that? Is that one, the testing isn't really accurate because the virus is mutated? Is it really just, we've had lots of people with upper respiratory stuff because they've been confined at home. Being indoors a lot will aggravate some respiratory conditions. Or is it, something else? are they all truly just negative, and it's just, what it is. It's really hard to know right now.
It's so confusing, and it's like that's why I say like most of the things that they're asking us to do, it doesn't take a lot. Like it's not too much to ask, I don't think. Like people are like, this is fucking 1984.
No, it's not. No, I
I don't
wouldn't go
think
that
so.
far.
But that's what they're equating it to. They're equating it to like fascist regimes, and it's just like, no, they asked you to wear a fucking face mask and stand 6 feet apart. And then I saw one thing that was like, well, the reason they want you to stand 6 feet apart is so that the facial recognition cameras can work. Then why the fuck are they asking us to all wear masks that cover most of our fucking face?
Well, like there's a really, like, when things are kind of up in the air, and for those of you who need, sometimes we want, hey Frank,
Howdy, Frank.
Hey Frank, those of us who want to have an answer, and if you don't have what's an explainable answer, then you kind of go into that conspiracy theory mode. And there is a lot of them out there, and it is very easy to kind of polarize and either go into the fear place or the fantastical place. But for me, essentially, it doesn't really get us anywhere. It's let's just stay healthy and support our community.
Absolutely. Like I think for the most part, like I know as far as I'm concerned, like with close friends and stuff, I've given up on the whole like, I'm not gonna, if it's somebody that I know that's really close, hey, it's cool. I mean, for one, Maine is this the statistics here are very, very low.
Yeah, and they are also
right, and the only person right now, like literal person, one person that I am concerned about infecting is my father, because my father has a heart condition and he has a litany of other health problems. Like that's the concern that I have. Like, and he's like, hey, I want to have coffee with you. It's like, hey, I want to stay 6 feet away from you for a little bit. So I'm hoping, like, if I can get a nice warm day, that he can come over, because it gets cold really easy too.
Yeah.
And I want it to be a nice warm day so that he can sit down outside, have coffee, be comfortable.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be right on top of him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but I mean, otherwise, like, I've just like, whatever. It is what it is. I'm when I'm out in public and stuff with other people, yeah, absolutely. But when it comes to like family members and stuff like that, no, I'm done with it. I've gotten to the point where if it affects me, it affects me, and all the people that I'm talking to or going to see, they're not all like, stay away from me. So and for the most part, everybody's doing their thing as far as like doing the social distancing and bullshit in public.
Yeah.
So and it's just been so hard, because you get to a point, especially with like family stuff, and you and I have talked about this before. Human beings need that physical connection with people.
Absolutely. I gave my dad a hug the other day. I probably haven't hugged my dad since Christmas. And I hugged him the other day because he came and he helped me, and I was just so happy. He helped me get some stuff done at home. And then I also told him that I felt like he needed it too. And and I think everyone needs it at a certain level.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a hug.
Well, I mean, I had my sister pop by today to see me, and I let her know, because my door had been open for my mom, but I wanted to let her know, like, hey, let mom know, if she wants to pop by, I'll make coffee and we can sit outside. And I mean, because my mother is, she is older, but she doesn't have the litany of health problems that my father has. So I'm not as concerned. I'm still concerned, but my major concern is my dad.
Right.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, just trying to navigate these friggin' waters has just been, mentally friggin' draining. And, like I said, trying to work out getting things done for you and I to get together, like with our schedules. And it's just been,
it's been.
And I, like every week, I was supposed to be done with that deck, like, I don't know how many weekends ago.
Well,
I ran into problem after problem. Not like problem is because of the virus, I couldn't get paint. I had to wait on paint, so I couldn't do. I could only do one thing one time when I wanted to do another thing. It just wound up being, it got crazy. But I'm hoping that now that we're kind of leveled out, you and I can get back on a better schedule with this.
Mm-hmm.
So we were going to do this yesterday, but I got the phone call that the paint was in. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to come up and paint my deck today.
Yeah. Which is totally, like, it's kind of like we had parallel experiences in some ways, but where you got pulled away, but you had a thing to do. And then I kind of had to like take a step back too, because of various things. I'd kind of gotten in a depressive funk for like a good 3 weeks. And that is one of those things where when it happens, and having like major depression all my life, I wouldn't say all my life, but at least since my late teens, is I know I can get through it, but sometimes when I'm in the thick of it, it's just really hard.
Oh, it just drags you down.
Yeah, and it's really hard to be very engaging in anything.
Yeah.
And when you are in the middle of those like really heavy emotions and processing, and for me, I've come to find that a lot of it is like now I'm emotionally or mentally processing something, and and it is a whole experience, but part of that experience is very much going within and feeling the feelings, and those don't actually always carry over well in a podcast. Like 2 weeks ago, I don't think we could have this conversation because I just wasn't in the right mental and emotional space.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I listen. I do the show, the 40 slip every week. Like for the most part, there's some weeks I skip. I have skipped weeks before. There were whole periods of time where I didn't do anything. But I mean, your mood dictates a lot. And I had times where I was just like, my mood was so shitty.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to put on my, show face and still do the show like I wanted to do it because it's what I like doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even though I was in a shitty mood that week, the show must go on, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then there came a point in time where I got so fucking fed up with everything, I almost fucking stopped doing it altogether. I just basically, said, fuck this. And I stopped. I didn't do the show for I can't remember if it was like 2 or 3 weeks. And then we started back up again with the new quote unquote incarnation. It's not really, but and I started it as an actual podcast for one. And it just I went a different route, and it's hard when you're in the middle of a mental issue, something that you're trying to get through.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, something like this might be able to help because this is an outlet. Like that's one of the things that's always been good about the show for me is if I've got something going on, as long as it's not too deeply personal, I can just fucking get it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's kind of like therapy for me in a way.
Yeah.
But there are times when I'm in a funk where it's like, I just got to put myself in fucking cruise in autopilot, get the fuck through this, let Steve and Matt do their thing and hope to fuck we make it through 2 hours.
Yeah.
But it happens, hun. So don't think like, that, it happens. And you might be able, like I said, in the future, you might be able to translate that, into doing something on the show with it.
Right.
Like use it, like I said, use it as some form of an outlet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it will inevitably happen again since it is
Oh
just
yeah.
part of my nature.
Well,
And
it happens to all of us.
it does. I mean, I happen to have a medical diagnosis
Right.
of major
You,
depression.
I understand what you're saying. Some people it's more, some people it's less.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
runs the gamut.
Well, it does. It is also kind of one of my, I would say, like kind of a very, we talk a lot of my shamanic spirituality on the show. And part of that is when you have those moments of like kind of like inner looking and looking at your really self-reflecting, is that you take those times and capitalize it and really kind of like go deep and really look at yourself and like,
Oh yeah, I just
what
watched
is that theme?
I just watched. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just watched that. Have a Good Trip on Netflix. Have you seen anything about that?
No, I haven't. I've been pretty much off of Netflix for a little bit.
So it's a whole documentary about the benefits of psychedelics,
Yep.
and they talk to different people, different famous people about their different psychedelic trips, and how they experienced it, and so on and so forth. And yeah, it's right down that same alley.
Yeah, if really going into deep into your head, deep into like your emotional dark places and kind of facing that darkness.
Yeah, what they were talking about is they were saying that people who have quote unquote bad trips, I think it was Sting. They were talking to the musician Sting.
Yep.
And he was saying, oops, got my freaking phone on. If anytime he had a bad trip, he learned something from it. There was something gained. So the quote unquote bad trip wasn't, a bad trip. It just was maybe a terrifying experience, because it tore down your ego and stripped you bare. So
Right. And that has certainly been like kind of, my, especially this most recent one, a deconstruction of my ego and kind of getting into some like really dark places, but also finding the gift in that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that's the important part of it. That's what you need to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is one of the, when people like have this kind of like, these like sweet little fairies and, mermaids, and like, the blissful Aquarian new agey stuff, and that this is what spirituality is. And so I'm like, well, geez, that is not my experience, because for me, it is like diving into the darkness and
for a lot of people it is.
And it is for a lot of people. So it, and if it's for you, it's okay. Like
I think a lot of people, Holly, they gloss over the things in their life. Like the thing about most of these quote unquote occult studies, which occult means unknown or whatever, but
the hidden.
Yeah, it is that you come from a dark place because you know nothing, for one. Like that's like the whole idea. And then that tenet there, know thyself. And knowing yourself is a scary fucking thing. I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you think you've been in your life. The minute you start picking apart yourself, you'll find it. We have this amazing thing in our brain, this ego that protects us from all of our shitty stuff, because it makes us think, oh, it's all good. It's for us. It's good. It's our ego.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and we all have met those people who like are seemingly always happy and optimistic all the time, and that's not a bad way to be. But for many people, like the truth is that you just have you go through these dark moments. And, I'm just putting it out there that I am definitely one of those people that is not a ray of sunshine all the time. I am not farting rainbows.
Hey, it happens. It happens. But yeah, we wanted to. We figured we'd just at least come on today and at least do a show, so that people know that the show is not. We haven't stopped doing the fucking show. It just things got kind of fucking wonky for a while, and I was doing some crazy work for a while to try and get something done for my uncle, and that I'd been wanting to do for a while for him. And it just so happened that things just get so fucked up with doing it. It was funny. We were laughing about it the whole time. I was like, Jesus Christ. He's like, I love seeing you every weekend, but
well, I mean, it was nicely timed with my my personal
yeah, I'll give you
my
a
personal crises.
Yeah, so
I mean, and I don't want to give the audience a perspective like I was like in the mental hospital or anything like that. It wasn't. It was just a very intensely introspective time where I was really just kind of thinking about who I was and who I am being out into the world. And one of the things like I can say is like my own relationship with my own secretive nature. Let's put it that way. So, and an example of that is like I don't put my real face up here, and how do I relate with the parts of myself that I want to keep hidden?
yeah.
And how honest and authentic do I feel if I have to stay behind an alien icon or all the other kind of like, things that I do. I'm still working through it.
Yeah. Hey, and that's fine. And we will persevere as far as this goes. I mean, it's not gonna be. I am going to address this. Hatchet Mouth, cool picture, I guess. By the way, but I am not going to get on the side of conspiracy people. There are some conspiracies that are worthy. There are theories that have some merit, but I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. I think flat earthers are fucking crazy, and I have the beliefs that I believe, and I tell my truth. Like, I'm not going to sit here and try to spew bullshit just to fucking placate to the fucking rubes. I don't have a fucking curly mustache. We aren't under a fucking big top. There isn't a fucking parade of fucking elephants out there I'm going to run by you. If you want that show, I'm sure you can find it somewhere on Stitcher or wherever the fuck you want to look. But thanks. I appreciate it. It was good having you. On that fucking note.
Wow. Wow.
This has been Slip Into the Night, episode 31. You like that shit? Give that little thumbs up button a push. If you don't, like Hatchet Mouth, give it a little thumbs down. We'll be back. I'm assuming you want to shoot for Saturday. Do you have any days off this week?
I don't know. It's a weird week because of celebrating Memorial Day on Monday. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if they will let me work, if they will make me take another day as a pandemic day or not.
Okay.
For folks that don't know, my work cut my hours, and there are certain days that I have to stay home, which I would normally work. So but I don't know how that's going to work out this week.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. If we can do a show midweek, we will do a show midweek. If not, we will try to do a show Saturday, or we'll figure it out this week. We'll definitely do another show this week. And tomorrow night on the 40 and Slip. Tomorrow night.
Tonight.
Tonight, yes, because I'm doing a double shot today. Tonight on the 40 and Slip, we will be talking about gin or genies or those things that give you wishes. Them little fuckers. But until tonight, in a couple of hours, have fun, everybody.
See ya.